She was just 5 years old when she lost her father in the most public way imaginable. By the time she turned 40, she'd watched nearly every person she loved disappear. Born into what seemed like American royalty, Caroline Kennedy has spent her entire life surrounded by tragedy. Some call it the Kennedy curse. Others say it's just unbearable bad luck. But for Caroline, it's simply been her life. From assassinations to plane crashes, from devastating losses to heartbreaking illness. The last surviving member of one of America's most iconic families has endured more grief than most people could imagine. This is the tragic life of Caroline Kennedy. The beginning, a childhood in the spotlight. Caroline Bouvier Kennedy entered the world on November 27, 1957, in New York City. Her father, John F. Kennedy, was a senator from Massachusetts with big ambitions. Her mother, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, came from a prominent family and brought elegance to everything she touched. But Caroline's birth carried weight beyond just welcoming another child. Her parents had already experienced devastating loss. Before Caroline arrived, Jackie had suffered a miscarriage. Then there was Arabella, a daughter who was stillborn in 1956. The grief from these losses hung over the young couple. When Caroline finally arrived healthy and strong, she brought joy back into their lives. For the first 3 years of her life, the family lived in Georgetown, a historic neighborhood in Washington, D.C. Her father's political career was rising fast, and the family home became a center of activity, filled with politicians, journalists, and the constant hum of ambition. Everything changed in November 1960. On the 8th of that month, when Caroline was just days away from her 3rd birthday, her father was elected President of the United States. 2 weeks later, on November 25th, Caroline got a baby brother, John F. Kennedy Jr. 2 days after that, she turned 3 years old. In the span of less than a month, Caroline went from being a senator's daughter to becoming one of the most photographed children in America. On January 20th, 1961, the Kennedy family moved into the White House. Caroline's childhood would be spent in the most famous house in the country, where her every movement was documented by photographers and her life became public property. Jackie, understanding the unique challenge of raising children under such intense scrutiny, worked hard to create something resembling a normal childhood. She set up a kindergarten in the White House solarium for Caroline and a small group of children. The goal was to give her daughter some privacy and normalcy amid the chaos. But perhaps the most famous symbol of Caroline's White House years was Macaroni, a pony given to her by Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson. Photographs of young Caroline riding Macaroni on the White House lawn became iconic images of the Kennedy presidency. The public fell in love with this little girl with her bob haircut and innocent smile. She represented hope and the future. Americans saw her as their daughter too, a symbol of youth and possibility in a new era called Camelot. Caroline's days in the White House were filled with play, lessons, and the constant presence of